Welcome to Sunday Stories. I'm Michael Sanford. Over the next hour, we'll be sharing stories that celebrate the rich history, amazing people, and fascinating places throughout our region and beyond. Our lead story takes us to Lompoc. The aquarium at this high school is much more than you typically expect to find inside a classroom. Rather than a few fish swimming around in a tank filled with murky water, the Cabrillo High School Aquarium is a multi-million-dollar facility run by students that opens its doors to thousands of visitors each year. We'll take a look inside this unique program where students are engaged and in charge.
Once a month, we host an evening open house to the community at large.
Hi, welcome to the Cabrillo Aquarium.
It's just a great way for the community to see what the students are doing and what we're all about here at the Cabrillo High School Aquarium. We're hosting over 7,000 visitors a year, and the students are the tour guides. As advisors, we just kind of step back and let them take over and run the show.
And that little red dot right there, that is Point Conception, right next to our near and dear town of Lompoc.
The students, basically, they do everything.
Big fishtails at Cabrillo High School, later on Sunday Stories. Estimates put the number of motorcycle owners in the U.S. at over 13 million, but of those, only 19% are women. Shasta Smith is not only a motorcycle rider, she's also the owner of Vintage Monkey, a shop that specializes in vintage motorcycle restoration and has been attracting customers from far and wide.
Riding a motorcycle, it is a true sense of freedom. It's just you and the machine. Classic motorcycles are a hot commodity right now, but providing people with a service to restore something that's classic for parts that don't exist anymore or for machines that are ultra rare, our service is very niche. They want to be in the environment. There's something to look around and look at in every corner of the building.
We'll stop in for a visit at Vintage Monkey, later on Sunday Stories. We've all seen them flying over major sporting events, blimps or airships that capture stunning aerial views, and they've been around for a long time. Goodyear started building airships for the U.S. Navy in 1917 and later started operating its own blimps in 1919. Our story from the vault doesn't go back quite that far, but it is a classic that has us taking a ride on the Goodyear blimp.
You've seen this shadow of the blimp on the ground your whole life. You see the shadow going by, and now you're up in the air and you're looking down and you're in it. Such a weird sensation. How high are we now?
1,500 above sea level right now.
And you're saying this is about the height that you fly over a sporting event,
well,
or
usually
slightly lower?
Between 1,100 and 1,500 feet. Well, what we ought to do, because I can sit here and talk to you about what it's like to fly a blimp for the next 3 hours. If I put you in this seat and let you fly the blimp, you'll know what it's like in about 5 minutes. So why don't you go ahead and let me hold that, you stand here, I'll put you in the seat.
I can see. Are you serious?
I'll do it.
Soaring high on the Goodyear blimp, ahead on Sunday Stories. In 1893, the California legislature passed a bill recognizing women's suffrage rights, but that bill was vetoed by then Governor Henry Markham. It wasn't until 1911 that the people of California voted narrowly in favor of Proposition 4, granting women the right to vote. Today's excerpt from story recalls the history of how California women won that right to vote and then used their political power to push the national movement forward, ultimately resulting in the 19th Amendment being ratified in 1920.
Western men had depended upon the courage and partnership of women in the settlement of the untamed West. These men knew that equality was not simply a right, it was a necessity. In the gold-rich, powerful California, the women recognized these early suffrage victories and pushed for their own rights to equality. However, the 1896 suffrage amendment went down to defeat by over 20,000 votes. The struggle for California suffrage would last for 15 more years as women reorganized and rededicated themselves to the rightness of their cause.
Later on Sunday Stories, how California women won the right to vote. Plus, the connection between art and wellness. The history and culture of Basque Americans. A place of comfort for terminally ill homeless men and women. And learning at school farms in Stanislaus County. But first, the Cabrillo High School Aquarium program began as a school club inside a classroom, but it's grown into a thriving partnership between hundreds of students, teachers, school district staff, and business owners that offers a cross-curricular, hands-on education opportunity.
Most people, when they hear that we have an aquarium, they visualize a classroom with a couple of tanks in there. But when they come and actually see what we have, they're pretty blown away because the scope of what we're doing. This is where the magic happens, right here. We have a plethora of marine life.
The main floor of the aquarium is over 5,000 square feet and houses more than 25 exhibits. The one-of-a-kind facility is located at Cabrillo High School in the Central Coast town of Lompoc.
Once a month, we host an evening open house to the community at large.
Hi, welcome to the Cabrillo Aquarium.
It's just a great way for the community to see what the students are doing and what we're all about here at the Cabrillo High School Aquarium. We're hosting over 7,000 visitors a year, and the students are the tour guides. As advisors, we just kind of step back and let them take over and run the show.
And that little red dot right there, that is Point Conception, right next to our near and dear town of Lompoc.
The students, basically, they do everything. At the beginning of each school year, there's a pretty intensive training period in terms of how to do the husbandry techniques and what the different roles are. But you can still feed them again, yeah, because they digest pretty quickly.
Whenever I say I work in an aquarium, my head curator, they're like, oh, okay, so like there's a tank and you're the guy who cleans the tank. No, 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 no. I'm one of the few students who are in charge of a multi-million-dollar facility. Okay, you guys are butting up. Do you have a job yet? Not yet. Not yet. I don't think anybody has estuary yet if you want to cover that tank. This aquarium is the real deal. There's nothing like it. I know, I Googled how many aquariums are in high schools. I couldn't find anyone.
There's just a really cool synergy where students have to work together with one another. The hands-on component is the most powerful part. They feed the animals. They take care of the exhibits. There's times where, something breaks down, and it's a great opportunity for a student to learn how to fix things like that. If you don't do that, animals are going to suffer. Animals would die.
The animals definitely depend on us, and it's a huge responsibility to have to watch out for all these different animals that live in these tanks, and then even hatching like baby sharks, for example. That's a very difficult task.
The ability of us to have animals breeding in captivity is really a testament to the job that the students are doing.
I think that's a hermit crab over there.
We're not trying to crank out marine scientists. Honestly, this is a training program.
So talk about that, definitely. Besides that,
a big part of their job is they got to train the next generation. And not only that, they got to get them interested in wanting to take on that responsibility and carry the baton and keep the program growing and improving every year.
The aquarium started modestly in 1986 with the vision of one teacher, Dave Long. Through private donations and grants, Dave's dream has grown from a small club to a program with more than 200 students enrolled in classes that cover topics like tourism, marine science, and aquarium operations.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
The Cabrillo High School Aquarium is a passionate part of my life, and I'm extremely proud of it. And the reason that I am is to see the students that work in here.
Hi, how are you?
One of my favorites.
Oh, thank you.
It's overwhelming to come and then see it continue to perpetuate itself through these students.
All right, hey guys, so my name is Naomi. I'm Natalie.
When we see young people and they're talking to little children about what they're passionate about, there is no teacher that could give them the same message as those high school students who those young people look up to and admire.
All right, hey there, scuba kiddos. My name is Kaylee and I am your scuba expert for the day.
It's really wonderful to be able to work with the kids of our community. For some of these children, it's their first time they've ever had an encounter with water or the ocean itself. So for me to be able to show them how wonderful it is and how much there is to learn about it is awesome.
Perfect, they're all ready for us.
I've had anywhere from a kid smiling saying, "You made my day. I really love the ocean a lot more now," to "I'm gonna go to Cabrillo High School because I want to be like you and work in the Cabrillo High School aquarium."
I'm so excited that I have the pleasure of diving with all of you today.
We just give the best experience to the kids that come through. We can really change lives.
Do any of you know what an adaptation is? Yes.
Getting used to like a certain place
Awesome.
or temperature.
I think I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today. The aquarium has really grown a lot more confidence in myself. As I was growing up, I had a bad speech impediment, and I actually had learning disabilities as well. Like working in this aquarium, it's just shown me, just if you really want to do something, you'll be able to achieve it no matter how hard it seems that it may be. My junior year, I lost my dad to stage 4 cancer, and I really wanted to give up. When I learn more about the ocean, it makes me feel that I'm maybe closer to my dad. He always told me to never give up, like share your passion, do as much as you can, and that's where I am today.
It is so satisfying to me to see students grow and develop and rise. They come in here and they just, a spark is like lit.
On 3, 1, 2, 3, sequence!
They are capable of doing such amazing things and they just need opportunities. This aquarium, it's a tool. It's a tool for students to be able to take their learning to a whole new level.
Later, the health benefits of art appreciation and engagement. Shasta Smith, owner of Vintage Monkey Restoration Shop, has blended her love of motorcycles and her design expertise to create a venue that celebrates classic motorcycle history and culture.
Riding a motorcycle forces you to clear your mind because you're focused on the ride. I'm not gonna lie, when you kick that throttle up a notch, it's awesome. It is a true sense of freedom, it's just you and the machine. I'm Shasta Smith, and I own the Vintage Monkey. We house a lot of different entities in the building, and one of the biggest entities is we hold a niche in servicing classic motorcycles. I call it a motorcycle repair shop that is on a completely different level. People come through here and they get to see that reflection of my design past and bringing that to life here in the building, and also seeing the love of motorcycles and how we cultivate the motorcycle culture. Classic motorcycles are a hot commodity right now, but providing people with a service to restore something that's classic for parts that don't exist anymore or for machines that are ultra rare, our service is very niche. Once it becomes a late model motorcycle, that's where my shop comes into play, because we take a lot of these motorcycles that people don't want to deal with. And it kind of makes me sad in a way, because some people come in and they're actually a little bewildered because they have a motorcycle that they love, it's not working, and no one else wants to work on it until they finally find us.
Do you actually know what's wrong with it and what it needs to get it running?
Yeah, so he gave it to me.
There's two types of customers. There is I call it the basic service. Some people just need a tire change, an oil change, or a simple tune-up, all the way to very complex mechanical restorations. Some people have motorcycles that maybe aesthetically look beautiful, but the engine is just in dire need of repair.
Nowadays, Shasta rarely has time to pick up a wrench and get her hands dirty. She leaves that to Dennis, her service shop manager, and his team of mechanics.
Anybody who's a business person knows that once you go through a business expansion, it starts to pull you away from what you once did. So I have master mechanics working on these motorcycles, which is exactly the way it should be, because I need to be running my business now.
So we're here. What about here?
So this is done. This needs to be started.
A lot of people asked if Sacramento was the right location for this to happen. And I actually sat back and thought, wow, should I be rethinking this? What if I don't survive because my city doesn't support me? And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna stay. And it was said to me, you know, Shasta, if you build it, they'll come. They come. And they come from afar. 50% of all of our visitors and our customers are not from Sacramento, which means I am fulfilling a business model that is a destination location.
It's a place where you can come and hang out, and you can connect with the people here, and talking with Shasta is always a joy. I love coming here, and she's always willing to just hang out and give me advice on anything.
So
I come by the shop quite often. I would consider myself a regular here. At least they do.
They want to be in the environment. There's something to look around and look at in every corner of the building. It's a great way to provide a visual escape for people.
Visitors can feast their eyes on an extensive display of vintage motorcycles, or talk shop at a massive circular bar which was designed and constructed by Shasta.
I have a background in interior architecture. I've had that career for many years, and I phased that career out to expand the Vintage Monkey. The evolution of Vintage Monkey started with motorcycle design, and I got to implement those different techniques and features on motorcycles, and then that is what cultivated into what Vintage Monkey is today.
Shasta has successfully merged two of her biggest passions in life: her love of design and her love of these machines.
I'm very happy with where I am in my life right now. How many people in our short lifetime get to say, I tried it, I gave it a try? The only people that get in our way is ourselves. Once we get out of our own way, it's amazing what kind of doors open up.
Philosophers of aesthetics have argued for centuries that art can break us from our habits. Art can create a new vision of reality, instill a sense of gratitude, provoke critical thinking.
Welcome the new people. I am Nancy, and I'm going to be one of your guides today.
Trying to create socially based interventions for individuals with chronic pain. Museums and other art spaces have been used to support a number of other people with a number of other conditions, mental health issues, dementia and Alzheimer's.
Art as healing. That's what UC Davis is exploring with a pilot program called ArtRx. The goal? discovering whether specialized experiences through art could reduce the burden of chronic pain.
For many years, people have understood chronic pain to be a really complex biopsychosocial phenomenon. We know that the social context in which the individual is experiencing these unpleasant sensations has a real impact on health outcomes. But we've done an inadequate job in terms of operationalizing that, in terms of creating programs and interventions. I mean, if you will, just take a minute and imagine what it feels like when you walk into a health clinic versus when you open the doors to a museum. Now, this isn't to say that a health clinic is going to be able to replicate all of the architectural elements of a museum.
Through programs like ArtRx, UC Davis is starting to measure the impacts on our health when art is incorporated into the healthcare environment.
How can we partner with organizations such as museums and art galleries, but other community resources to be public health partners?
Her question is, where does it begin and where does it end?
It's really important to understand that all of the work we're doing is about integrative health approaches, not alternative health approaches. No one involved in this project is suggesting that one should go to a museum instead of going to their healthcare provider. Far from it. What we're suggesting is that it's possible that doing things that elicit a sense of social connection and joy may complement the work you're doing with your healthcare providers.
Later, from the vault, Jack Gallagher's fun adventure on the Goodyear blimp. This next story introduces us to the history and culture of Basque Americans who emigrated to California following the discovery of gold in the 1860s, and many of whom became sheep herders.
Their origins are as mysterious as their unusual language. A people who for tens of thousands of years lived in isolation along the Pyrenees Mountains bordering Spain and France. But today you can find enclaves of these people called Basques in some of the most unexpected places around the world, including the American West.
But Bascos tend to stick together a lot. I mean, we're real cliquish.
So chances are you've not heard much about Basques, who for generations have forged a living making handicrafts, cheeses, but most of all by herding sheep. Their anonymity is primarily due to one simple factor.
For so many years, there was not much riding done in the Basque Country. Maybe that's one of the reasons why the Basques are not known.
According to Martin, the 19th century brought tough economic times to Spain, forcing many Basque sheepherders to seek opportunity elsewhere, on the plains of Argentina and in the hills of California, where one simple word transformed the entire landscape: gold.
And they end up in San Francisco and left the boat and went to the gold mines.
But prospecting did not run in their veins, so many Basques turned to something they were good at: sheep herding, and began supplying lamb and wool to gold miners.
They didn't find any golden colored gold, but they sure find some woolly gold. They made great business.
Okay. Indeed they did, spreading across California, Nevada, Idaho, and other western states. Basque herders increased the sheep population from 600,000 to more than 3 million in less than 20 years. Today, those numbers have declined, but there are still a few Basques who make their living the traditional way, like Amador Zabal Beascoa, his wife Mary, and their 3 sons.
And like me, I came 1970, and I think I was one of the last ones came from there. And then, I got my own business.
Amador grew up sheep herding in Spain, where his father taught him the tricks of the trade. His wife, Mary, is the daughter of a French Basque sheepherder, and today the couple works their large ranch near the Central California town of Los Banos. Each day begins before dawn when Amador and his dogs check on the sleepy flock.
Your sheep, they have a personality, and your dog is your best friend.
The work includes checking the sheep for injuries by quickly hooking a hind leg and getting them to the ground for inspection. After making sure the flock's in good shape, the sheep are corralled into a single line for a visit to the beauty parlor.
Their face is clean so they can see their babies, and their backs are clean so it'll be a clean birth, so there's not going to be a whole lot of flies. Their underbellies are clean so that the babies can find their food real easy.
Mary says the yearly cycle begins in autumn when the mothers, or ewes, give birth. By late spring, the mothers are returned to the rams, where the cycle starts all over again. For the Zabal-Beascoas, this really is a family affair. On the day we visited, son Michael, on break from veterinary school, pitched in to help his dad.
Just make sure all the lambs are with their mothers and make sure they're drinking. Everything else is a piece of cake.
All this hard work builds up an appetite, so come noon, the family descends on Wool Growers, the local Basque restaurant. For the typical Basque, lunch is anything but little. There's soup, chicken, lamb, fries, and local cantaloupe, all served family style. It's dishes like these that are savored when the slow season arrives in May, lasting through August. That's when Basques from all over the West gather for fiestas, like this one in Minden in western Nevada.
Part of the history was passed through the verses, singing. There is beautiful love poems in Basque, but they are in songs.
Basque dancing follows traditional steps and requires a lot of endurance. The Basque people, like Amador and Mary, have held fast to their beloved traditions, following a way of life that presents some tough challenges but delivers its own deep rewards.
A real sheep herder, the one that is herding sheep because he loves it like I did myself, is one of the most free persons on earth.
So what's so off limits about an airport? Every day people all over the country hop on jets and fly back and forth 500-600 miles an hour. Well, what's off limits? Let's just say a ride in an aircraft at a more leisurely pace. You couldn't go, but we went. We'll take you with us. Come on. If you've been to a major sporting event, chances are you've looked up and seen one of these. For more than 70 years, Goodyear airships have been cruising the skies, treating sports fans to spectacular views, instant replays, and of course, a little bit of advertising for a certain tire company. Now, usually the blimp is just a small speck in the sky, but today we're going to see the full-scale version, thanks to Goodyear Public Relations Officer Bob Ehrhausen. Let me tell you something, Bob. You can see as many different blimps as you want with as many different names on the sides as you want, but you always think of the Goodyear blimp.
Well, we'd like to think you do.
I see other blimps and I think it's a fake blimp. It's a phony blimp.
That's right.
I saw one for a candy company. Phony candy blimp. What's that about?
That's right.
That's the one. Look at that. That's the Goodyear blimp right
Goodyear
there.
blimp.
Yeah. How often do you get to it?
I haven't been up in years.
Really?
No.
You don't want to do it, or you just there's no time?
I'm afraid.
You're okay down here?
It's dangerous.
Don't say that to me right before I go.
You gotta go.
Oh, it's time.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Now, hopefully, Bob was thinking of that other blimp. Yeah, you know the one. Luckily, blimp technology has come a long way since the Hindenburg disaster, with helium being the current gas of choice. So as I made my way out to the landing field, I was actually feeling pretty secure, knowing my fate would rest in the hands of Captain Nick Nicolari. Now that's a captain's name. And his battalion of hangers-on. You see, when the blimp comes in for a landing, it's a lot like a NASCAR pit stop. Passengers and pilots need to make the switch in less than 3 minutes. If the wind catches the blimp the wrong way, things can get pretty hairy. And if you let this party balloon go, well, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Sit right next to the pilot. Okay. Wow. All right. interesting things is you've seen this shadow of the blimp on the ground your whole life. You see the shadow going by, and now you're up in the air and you're looking down and you're in it. Such a weird sensation. How high are we now?
We're 1,500 above sea level right now.
And you're saying this is about the height that you fly over a sporting event,
well,
or
usually
slightly lower?
Between 1,100 and 1,500 feet. Probably be about 1,100 feet on the weekend because the Coliseum is right down there below us.
It's a really amazing feeling. Just to know that you're sitting in this while that big balloon is up on top of it. It's amazing.
Well, what we ought to do, because I can sit here and talk to you about what it's like to fly a blimp for the next 3 hours. If I put you in this seat and let you fly the blimp, you'll know what it's like in about 5 minutes. So why don't you go ahead and let me hold that, and you stand here, I'll put you in the seat.
I can see. Yeah. Are you serious?
I'll do it. I'm gonna fly the blimp.
Okay.
Now what you want to do here is we want to turn right, so go ahead and push your right foot as hard as you can. Hold it in there and watch the nose.
What am I turning? Where's the rudder that I'm
You're
turning?
working the rudder on the aft end of the vertical stabilizer. You're working the rudders.
Okay, so now we're really turning, so I'm going to...
Now push your left foot in to stop the turn and even them up.
And then you even them up.
So go ahead and follow the freeway over there.
Okay. And this... Well,
this is your elevator wheel. Put 2 hands on that one. And you roll it forward. Go ahead and roll it forward a couple of good turns. Now hold it right there. Just hold it in there. Now don't be afraid because the speed's not going to increase. It will not increase speed. Let it come down a little bit. No, don't.
Really?
Yeah, hold it in there. See? Speed didn't change.
Yeah.
Now just let go of the wheel. Just let it go. You got to keep steering, so steer left at the same time.
Holy cow. Wow.
So you just descended 100 feet.
I'm trying to keep it heading in the right direction. I'm trying to keep the ocean in front of my rope.
You know, I'm starting to think blimp pilots have it made. I mean, you have a year-round pass for the nation's biggest sporting events, and no matter when you get there, you always have the best seat. I guess that's why Nick's not about to give up his wings anytime soon. So it's time for me to get back to the reality of life in the coach section.
I'm going to get a clearance to land here.
Okay. Wow, that was amazing. That was so cool. Well, that was pretty exciting. I didn't know I was going to get to fly the blimp, but I feel like I did a good job, you know, and now kind of tough on the legs with the rudders and stuff, so I'm just going to relax and find some place where guys like me hang out. I was flying the blimp.
Yeah, right.
All right. It's not that nice in there.
Still ahead, a school program giving students a farm experience. But first, Rob Stewart sits down with Marlene von Friedrichs Fitzwater. Marlene shares her story about how the devastating loss of her grandson compelled her to establish Joshua's House. Its purpose, to provide hospice care to homeless men and women.
This is Marlene von Friedrich Fitzwater, holding a picture of her beloved grandson, Joshua. Joshua is the inspiration for her passion project, Joshua's House. It's a hospice home for the homeless who are terminally ill and dying on the streets of Sacramento. That's why Marlene is laser focused on her life's mission, working up to 14 hours a day in her office, surrounded by the signs that call her to action. Quotes like, "We're all just walking each other home," alongside more pictures of Joshua in happier times. And her mission statement, compassionate care for the homeless at the end of life. This is a project born in great sorrow. Joshua died in 2014, homeless on the streets of Omaha, Nebraska.
To lose a grandchild. It's so backwards, right?
Yeah.
But who would have thought that this would come from that?
Yeah, I agree. I would have not imagined. But it came in a very, like, it had to be this.
This is an 11,000 square foot state-of-the-art hospice house. It's planned right next to Loaves and Fishes on North C Street in Sacramento, inside a 100-year-old warehouse Marlene bought in the summer of 2018. Joshua's house will be the first hospice home for homeless on the West Coast, and only the 7th in the U.S. Having just retired from UC Davis, this career physician, medical professor, cancer researcher, and survivor became a champion for change.
I had never thought that someone who was homeless would end up just dying on the street and not have anywhere to go. And so we were seeing cancer patients at UCD who were homeless, and they would come in and have a diagnosis or meet with a doctor and have a treatment and then be discharged back out on the street because we didn't have, just on the street. We don't have enough shelters that provide 24-hour care. We don't have enough Medi-Cal beds. We had nowhere for them to go. And so I became aware of that and began to talk more to Josh about that, and he confirmed, oh, Grandma, there's 6 people I've just met who are dying of cancer.
Joshua's house will be a 20-bed facility, partnering with every major hospital system in our region, providing care 24 hours a day for the terminally ill homeless. You put up a chunk of your own retirement for this, to buy this building.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. That's belief.
Oh, it's belief. And it's love for my grandson, who unfortunately didn't live long enough to see it happen and be part of it. But he'll live on in Joshua's house. We want to provide acceptance and respect and love in a way that their final days, however many days there are, that their final days will be filled with that, with compassion and love and support, and help them find ways to kind of leave a legacy, leave a story behind.
I just realized also that when they walk through or brought through this door for this chapter to come to a close, that it will be the first time in a very long time that they have not been referred to as homeless, because they will actually have a home.
They will have a home. It's what keeps me sharing the story and requesting money and meeting with potential donors, and that's it. It's just knowing that 20 people to start, and we hope we can grow down the road and have more than 20, but at least to start, 20 people will know that they matter and their lives mattered and that they're loved.
There's a sentence that goes through my brain all the time, and it is, look what love can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Look what love can do.
Yeah. And that's what we'll see here.
Make sure that you plant the plants so that it's just even with the soil. So you're just going to open the soil up, put it in, see how it's even and level, and then push the soil back in around it.
Agriculture is the biggest industry here in Stanislaus County, where farms generate about $3 billion worth of commodities each year. So you'd think that kids from local schools would have plenty of exposure to the farm life. But school officials from the towns of Turlock and Ceres discovered that was not always the case.
Almost all the kids in our program are actually coming from a suburban environment. Very, very few of our students are actually coming off of a farm. They don't have any idea where their food comes from. We plant broccoli plants and they look at that and they have no idea what a broccoli looks like growing in the field.
We have some students that have never had a farm experience. They've never planted something in the ground and been able to watch it grow. They've never been able to hold a chick or pet a sheep or a goat. And so with bringing them out here, they actually get these experiences that they may not have otherwise.
In the last several years, both the Turlock and Ceres school districts have invested significant time and money into creating real working farms for their students. Turlock's effort started in 2013 when the district bought 10 acres of land in the city. They've been slowly building it up since.
We finally finished our swine facility just about 3 weeks ago. So now we have a swine facility that is up to industry standards. We've also been able to bring out our goats and sheep to the farm this year. They used to be housed at different locations. We have about an acre of fruit trees and we have about an acre of vegetables. We are starting to plant now with the first graders and they will continue to plant with about 800 more first graders out here. We get a lot of seeds planted and they're very good at doing that.
Turlock wants to make this farm accessible to every student in the district, whether it's elementary school students on a field trip or high schoolers who are raising animals through Future Farmers of America.
She's born in November, so she's about 4.5 months old. Yes.
The learning doesn't stop at the farm for these first graders from Juline Elementary School. Their teachers say they have several lessons planned around today's excursion.
Kids are jumping up and down, very excited, and it kind of brings to life the things they've been reading about and learning about.
The teachers are very good about bringing it back to the classroom and using it as, remember when we were at the farm and we did this.
Turlock's farm coordinator, Laura Brem, says the district was also motivated by new science standards that encouraged kids to memorize less and explore more.
We don't just give them the answers. We want them to explore and to investigate and then find the answers on their own, because as they go through that process, they internalize it. It becomes a part of them.
I've been planting peas, climbing on tractors, looking at fruit. I really enjoyed looking inside of a tractor because I don't really get to do that often.
The food grown on the Turlock farm typically returns to the schools as a snack for students. But the farm run by the Ceres School District takes it a step further. Each year, they sell about $18,000 worth of produce grown on the farm back to the school district.
It's really a seed to fork operation. We start seeds in our greenhouses with our students, we grow those, and then they actually go into a school lunch program with the school district. So instead of buying it from a wholesaler, they're actually purchasing it from the ag program, and those funds come back into it. So on an average week, we're probably feeding 2,000 students just off of this particular fruit that comes off the farm.
The food that grows out here and goes to our cafeteria, I feel like that does make a difference because a lot of people don't know where their food comes from. Instead of like trucking in fruits from different parts of California, we can just truck them in from our school farm.
Ariana is a junior at Ceres Central Valley High School, which offers students 4 career pathways in its agriculture program. This 6.5-acre farm is an extension of that program, with more than 200 fruit trees, table grapes, and vegetables. Plus, there's livestock facilities so students can learn how to care for cattle, sheep, pigs, and goats.
I've been thinking a lot about veterinarian technician. With the experience I have with goats, it's going to help me a lot to go towards my career.
Ceres ag instructor Ken Moncrief says one of the most rewarding parts of his job is watching students eat farm-fresh food, often for the very first time.
When we grow a carrot, they're pulling the carrots right out of the ground. I have to kind of fight them to go wash them because they're so excited to try their vegetables that they grew. So I think they're really learning about nutrition and things like that because they're eating something right out of the ground.
I think it's very important for students to know where the food is coming from because a lot of people are starting to raise awareness of like how important it is to have locally sourced food.
School officials from both Turlock and Ceres agree the learning that goes on these farms is invaluable. It provides a hands-on experience students can't get in the classroom, sparks a new appreciation for animals, and even offers inspiration for a future career.
In education, there are so many great kids, and I think this is a shining example of where kids can really shine. Every part of this is touched by kids' hands, and that's what makes me the most proud.
Some stories take a little more time to tell, more time than we have here each week. We still want to share a part of those amazing stories with you, and then you can view the entire story later on our website or on the free PBS video app. Today's excerpt from tells the story of the hard work, dedication, and persistence in the face of challenges and setbacks during the women's suffrage movement. That ultimately led to the day California women win the vote.
Votes for Women was first proposed in 1848 by Elizabeth Cady Stanton at Seneca Falls, New York. But it was the West that led the way for suffrage rights. Wyoming in 1869, followed by Utah, Idaho, and Colorado. Western men had depended upon the courage and partnership of women in the settlement of the untamed West. These men knew that equality was not simply a right, it was a necessity. In the gold-rich, powerful California, the women recognized these early suffrage victories and pushed for their own rights to equality. However, the 1896 suffrage amendment went down to defeat by over 20,000 votes. The struggle for California suffrage would last for 15 more years as women reorganized and rededicated themselves to the rightness of their cause. Lillian Coffin, a magnetic and spirited businesswoman and highly influential lobbyist, knew the legislators by name. In a colorful march, she led 300 women to meet with lawmakers and presented their case. Persistent pressure from passionate women and supportive men influenced lawmakers. Finally, on February 2, 1911, the state Senate and House voted to place women's suffrage on a special October 1911 election. With only 8 months to Election Day, California women faced a whirlwind campaign in a state over 1,000 miles long and rich in diversity. Elizabeth Watson, inspiring speaker and organizer who had been active in the 1896 campaign, invited women leaders from the state's various organizations to unite and devise a plan for victory. Charlotte Whitney, college-educated reformer and the brilliant president of the important College Equal Suffrage League. Maud Younger, a wealthy woman whose compassion and commitment to the working women brought her to work for their rights. Catherine Edson, an advocate for labor and health measures, and Clara Foltz, the fiery Los Angeles lawyer who inspired other women to give all for suffrage. These younger organizers brought renewed energy, new ideas, and innovative tactics to the depleted 1896 suffrage movement.
Without further ado, let us hear from the various sections of our state.
So, first, let's start with the two domains of activity. In the suffrage vote of '96, the North was so overwhelming against a woman's right to vote that even the small victories in the South could not compensate. That is what must change. You women in the North have many more established suffrage groups. So you take all areas north of the Tehachapi Mountains, and we in the South will saturate the cities, towns, and farms in the rest of the state.
The emancipation of women may not have begun with the vote, but rather when they mounted a good horse and realized how different and fine the view. From the back of a horse, the world looked wider. Joyce Gibson Roach. As the Victorian age turned into the first decade of the new 20th century, California moved from a rugged frontier to a cultivated and cultured state, one marketed as a paradise and as a land of opportunity. Leaving behind the Eastern images of womanhood and dependence on men, many women found that the land out west offered new freedoms and possibilities. Oil and oranges, sun and verdant fields, health and wealth, and the promise of prosperity attracted a migration of stable, middle-class citizens, mostly from the farming states of the Midwest. Completion of 2 railroad lines brought 50,000 new residents a year. In Los Angeles alone, the population grew from 50,000 in 1900 to 320,000 by 1910, a 6-fold increase. The advance in irrigation systems produced a shift from small family farms to grand ranches. Industries previously performed by women in their homes became major manufacturing companies, canning, textiles, food services. Displaced from their traditional roles in the home and on the farm, young women moved to the cities to work in those industries formerly associated with the home. Women also branched out into retail and clerical positions. These businesses increased the clerical workforce in California 50% in 1 decade. Women desired more education to become teachers, nurses, business professionals, and California met that need. Stanford University opened as a co-educational institution. Women graduates at Stanford grew from 8 in 1895 to over 200 in 1910. As women assumed greater participation in their society, their lack of political equality became more obviously unjust, and by 1911, the right to equal suffrage was a strong battle cry. The time was ripe for a full-fledged campaign.
How can we not be outraged at the deplorable conditions in which working women and girls are forced to endure? It is only through the vote that we can, and we will, make changes.
Yes, of course. But we must have a campaign that upends old reasoning and gives all women dignity of self.
Let us, the members of the Wage Earners League, both North and South, wage our own campaign to relate to these women and their men with appropriate talk and literature.
Yes.
At the turn of the 20th century, San Francisco was a bustling cultural center and the wealthiest and largest city west of the Mississippi. Here, in 1910, Selina Solomons, a fiery middle-class Jewish leader from the 1896 campaign, opened her Votes for Women Club as a way to connect women of all means and stations in society, a meeting place where women could learn about their rights and discuss the events of the day. Solomons provided inexpensive lunches, dispersed suffrage literature, and invited speakers to stimulate discussions, like Maud Younger, the millionaire waitress and union organizer. The New York City Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire took 143 young women's lives because employers confined workers for long hours in a small space and had locked the doors to escape exits. In this and in their own personal experiences, California's working women saw the need to be involved for fair and safe working conditions. They were encouraged to form unions and work for the vote. In trade unions, wage-earning women were molded into social and political activists.
Women are 80% of elementary and high school teachers. 30% more girls are in school. And we women graduate high school at a higher rate, 3 girls to 2 boys. And certainly, those who teach and train our young people ought to be voting citizens.
And as long as every speaker and every rally, every press article and piece of literature is like breakfast food to make the vote necessary and palatable and keep the issue before the men.
Yes, a cause progresses in proportion to the circulation of its literature.
California distributed more printed material and press releases than any other state, even given its size. 10,000 columns of suffrage news were sent out to the 700 newspapers in the state. As early as the 1880s, women had started their own printing presses, launched their own newspapers, printed literature, and recognized the power of the press to inform and educate both rural and urban voters. They flooded the public with over 3 million fly sheets, mailed or handed out in the months preceding the election. In San Francisco, women prepared 35,000 pieces of literature for mailings in 1 week alone. To connect with the diverse population, suffragists wrote articles in foreign languages, Spanish, German, Italian, Portuguese, and sent 10,000 letters to Spanish speakers. Under the expert leadership of Alice Park of Palo Alto, suffrage literature addressed specific arguments and targeted defined voters. Why the Wage-Earning Women Should Vote by Maud Younger, to the farmers and fruit growers. Why the Teacher Should Be a Suffragist. Their literature and news also trained speakers and ordinary citizens how to convincingly discuss the issues. Debate arguments were printed and studied so that when speakers went out to persuade voters, they could easily handle the questions and the objections. Press releases highlighted local suffrage news and made it part of the dinnertime conversation. Women who had never seen their names in print were recognized and proud that their activities and their stand counted for something important. The suffrage victory can be credited in large part to the women's use of the press and their organization around this powerful, accessible, extensive, and free outlet. Women's clubs were established as places for women to connect with others, and for education, arts and literature, children's needs, social reform, and charity work. Within these clubs, women were given the tools to go out of the home and into public life. Wealthy women showed how to raise money, and enterprising business ladies marketed their own goods. The 163 California women's clubs were an important and powerful force in the campaign as they identified women's concerns through civic participation with the power of the vote. In discussing why women should vote, we learn of other things that need reforming, like pure milk, early education, protection of the redwoods, treatment of animals, the sick, the homeless, the elderly. With club women's commitment to the vote, they change from delicate flowers and ladies to women. Women are the great undeveloped resources of this country. If we are to live up to our possibilities in political life, we must welcome the trial by fire that a suffrage campaign affords. Mrs. Grace Simons, President, the California Federation of Women's Clubs.
To watch the full story, go to kvie.org/Sunday Stories or download the free PBS video app. I'm Michael Sanford. It's been a pleasure being part of your Sunday. We hope you've enjoyed today's stories and that you'll be back next time for another episode of Sunday Stories. Until then, have a great week.